Find out what are ex-dividend record dates and their relevance in the payout of dividends. Dividends are the share of profits and retained earnings that a company pays out to its shareholders. This dividend is distributed to investors either in the form of cash or stock. Both ex-dividend dates and record dates are essential to determine which investors will receive dividends and till which date. Consider the record date as a cut-off date. By this date, the investor must be on the company's books to receive their dividend. This date is decided upon by the board of directors of a company. The dividend is paid to all shareholders whose names appear in the shareholder records of the company at the end of the record date. Ex-dividend date or ex-date is a date based on stock exchange rules. It is said to be 1 business day before the record date. Investors must complete their stock purchase and become the owner before this date to receive their dividends in time. Any purchase made on or after the ex-dividend date will not be eligible for the dividend. Instead, it's the seller on record who will receive the dividend. Let's understand the dividend distribution process better. First, there are 4 significant dates involved in the process. First up is the declaration date. The declaration date is the day when the board of directors announce the dividend. The ex-dividend date is 1 business day before the record date, by which investors must have to complete their purchase. The record date is when the company checks records to identify its current shareholders. All the shareholders whose names appear in the records of the registrar and transfer agent as at the end of the record date will be entitled to receive the dividends. And lastly, the date of payment is actual payment of dividend to its eligible shareholders. The date of payment of dividend will depend on whether the payout is an interim dividend or it is a final dividend. In case of interim dividend, the payout to the shareholders has to happen within 30 days from the date of the announcement of the dividend. However, in case of final dividend, the actual payment of dividend only has to be made within 30 days of the annual general meeting, AGM. Dividends can be paid in various ways, but the most common are cash and stock. A cash dividend is when you receive a certain dividend on each share. For example, let's assume the face value of a share is INR 20. The company declares a 20% dividend, which means a dividend of INR 4 per share will be payable to all shareholders. A stock dividend, on the other hand, is when the company pays in shares instead of cash. For dividends in India, it is important to know these 4: declaration date, ex-dividend date, record date, and payment date. And you're all set.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.